I need you, I need you, I need you. Yeah, boys. Jason Faye's coming at you. Jason Power Rankings, week 2. I told you I'd be coming back every other week, so I'm here. Week 2 Power Rankings. Getting the Justin Bieber. You know how I like it. Yeah, keep it up, boys. All right. Let's cut the music. Let's get down to business, right? That's what we're here for. Where are you now? All right, ladies and gents, we are 2 weeks into this glorious fantasy football season. And the one thing I have to say about this season, and this goes to most all teams in the league, is injuries. Injuries have been killer this year. And it doesn't just focus on one particular team. It's been kind of scattered throughout the whole league, even starting before the preseason. First week, second week, so on and so forth. And it just seems like these players are dropping like flies. And that's why it shows even more importance in those late rounds in the drafts. And even more importance on the free agency pickups. I will get into those later. But anyways, I don't want to keep this super long. So let's get the power rankings going, and then we'll go through the matchups. And we'll just talk about the league as we're going, right? Let's get this going, boys. Well, I like to go all the way from 10 to number 1. And I will tell you the differences in my power rankings as well as we go. So let's get it going. At number 10, we have Llama Drama. Starting off 0-2, not really putting up the most points. Only putting up 220 points, the least in the league, by a good 13 points. So, Llama, you deserve to be down here. You dropped 3 spots, down from 7 to 10 from the preseason power rankings till now. Some of your positives, Big Ben. I thought I had a lot of stock into him at the beginning of the year. I thought he was going to pull out big numbers with Antonio Brown, and it's looking like he's just going to keep up those numbers. Now, Bell does come back. That might hamper his stats a little bit, but really I don't think it's going to change much. He has 720 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games. Amazing. A lot of points. But even with that greatness, you still couldn't pull out a victory. And also another positive is your receiving core that I really did not like at the beginning of the season. I'm starting to, they've played very well the first 2 games, especially Marshall and Matthews. They both put up touchdowns and pretty consistently yards. And they're both over 20 points for the season, which you can't ask for much more from those 2 guys than putting up over 10 each week. So you do have some positives. And there's plenty of room for you to move up, but Llama, as of right now, you're going to be sitting down at the 6th. The Luck situation and the C.J. Anderson are your 2 big hindering picks of your draft so far. Luck is your number 1, and if I'm not mistaken, I think C.J. Anderson was your number 2 pick. Don't take me to the bank on that one, but I'm pretty sure. C.J. Anderson has a total of 50 yards right now. After 2 weeks, they don't even look like they're going to be given the ball. He might be off your team or on your bench in the next 2 weeks. If nothing happens, you need to pray that Manning just goes out. That's all you got to hope for. Because even with Manning's shittiness, he's still not running the ball. And then Luck, 490 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. The yards, not bad. 490, it's not great, but it's not bad. But you can't have 3 touchdowns by your number 1 pick. You have to be getting 2 or 3 touchdowns a week. And then this last week, with him turning the ball over, 4 times, was just unacceptable for your number 1 pick. And really, that's why you're down here. You can't have your number 1 and number 2 picks just doing garbage for you right now. And if they do bump back up, and like I said, you have Big Ben and Andrew Luck. Before the season, thought you had the best quarterback combo in the league, and it could very well be like that in the league, but not right now. So, Llama, you're sitting down there at the bottom. Hopping up to number 9. T.Y. Yeats for president. Cass. Sorry, man. I didn't have you up too high this beginning of this season. You also dropped 3 from 6 down to 9. Another 0-2 start. Your positives of your team, you do have the two quarterbacks. Even though Manning took a real big dump the first week, uh, he came back, bouncing back the second week, and Russell Wilson also is looking like to be a consistently good pick. Now, when I say consistently good pick, they're both getting over 20, but already this year, these second-tier quarterbacks are blowing up the numbers, and it's looking like you taking those two quarterbacks so early is really hindering your team right now. Uh, people have done that before in the past. I've done that before in the past, but only when I got the top echelons, the Aaron Rodgers, the Andrew Lucks. You got the second tier, and I don't know if they're going to be good enough this year to carry you that far. And also, I think, the positives are Ingram. I think he's done really well. CJ Spiller has never even really played this year, and I know I got a lot of shit because I did pick him up before Ingram, so shame on me for that one, but I think you have a lot of upside with him. And I think you have a lot of upside with Carlos Hyde. He had a 30-point week 1, and then I think about a 4-point week 2. So, if he can get in the middle of that, around 14, 15, 16 points, you really could be moving up, and you got to ride those guys hard. But just the negativities of what kind of Manning are we going to get, and then you're just bad receiving core. With Macklin with 109 yards, no touchdowns. Jackson, you're the only one that even brings anything to the table, I feel like. Him and Cobb, pretty decent. They both a little over 100 yards. But to have no really great wide receiver, you got to have something better than 100 yards and a touchdown. And then, Miller and Hyde, like I said, Miller has really just fallen off the face of the earth with 67 yards total. And then Hyde, he has had the great 1 week and the second bad week. So, Cash, do you have room to move? Yes. I think always with a team that has two consistent good quarterbacks, always has a chance to move up the board. It's if your other players can produce just enough points to get you over that hump. And as of right now, you're sitting at 255, not a bad point total, but overall, I just do not like your team. Moving on to number 8, Apex Predator. Pat, I had you really high up at the beginning of the year. You were sitting at number 3 at the beginning of the year. And I dropped you down 5 spots to 8. Whew. Big drop, and I can't blame you for this one. I got to say injuries. Romo, Decker, Breeze is questionable coming into next week, and he's not been playing good. Also, I heard Eddie Lacy might not be playing next week. And yeah, that might just be 1 week, but you have been just riddled with these injuries, and you can't afford another key player of your team to go down, even for 1 week or 2 weeks. That just can't happen. But you do have some positives. I feel like you switching out and getting Fitzpatrick in the free agency was a great play to substitute out for Romo. He's been doing quite consistently well this year, and the Jets actually are looking fantastic. Chris Ivory, Decker, he's hurt though now, but Brandon Marshall seems to be stepping up. Overall, that team's a very solid team. They remind me of a hint of a Chiefs team, but a little bit better offense. And then I think DeAnthony Hopkins has been doing pretty solid. Nothing spectacular, but exactly what you got him for. That the 10 to 12 to 15 points a week, and that's all you can ask for from a receiver, in my opinion. So, Pat, I think you're doing well with handling these injuries, but you need to get the Breeze needs to find his game, and Eddie Lacy you cannot afford him to get hurt, because if that happens, then you will not just be standing here, you'll be standing here by the end of the week, by the end of the season. So, Pat, I know you can climb. The injuries have hit you hard, but you're a great player. You'll find those gems in the free agency pool, and you'll be making your move up. All right, number 7, Gotham's Rogues actually moved up 1 this week. Is still 0-2, and you say, why did I move them up? I moved them up mainly because of these 3 players dropped. They dropped big time in my book, and Cal has been decent. He's sitting there with 234 points, not that great, but he had a really good week too. Marshawn Lynch has been a little inconsistent, 114 yards and no touchdowns. You can't have your number 1 pick do that. And also A.J. Green, 108 yards and a touchdown. And the sad part is Andy Dalton is going off. His first 2 weeks have looked stellar, but they're not going to your target. You're not getting the 1-2 punch with Andy Dalton to A.J. Green, which you were banking on. But that could easily change. He's a talented receiver, and Andy Dalton can have flashes of talent as well. Your whole receiving core got hurt up when Des Bryant got knocked out. And also, there's another big injury guy. This whole league is riddled with injuries, and you got hit with one of the biggest ones, which was Des Bryant, which in my opinion was going to be at least the top 3 receiver, probably behind Brown and Julio Jones. And you lost him. You lost him, but he's not out all season. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks he comes back, and Cal, you can make a move because you do have some positives. You do have two good quarterbacks. You do have 2 good quarterbacks. Oh shit! Take that back. Yes, you do have 2 good quarterbacks with Andy Dalton just looking great, and I also like your Danny Woodhead. I like the pick when you picked him up, and he's been producing pretty well. I think it's a great flex player, and Latavius Murray is also another great. Sorry, my screen goes out. Is another great player. So Cal, do you think you have a lot of potential? And you actually did move up this week, so don't be too down on yourself. And you're only 3 spots out from being in the playoffs, in my opinion. So let's keep it going. I'll give you a chance and nobody else was taking. Boom. Number 5, GG, well played. Dropped him 1. He was a 5 going into the season. I did drop him 1. He's a 1-1 team as well. Some of the negatives: Forsett and McCoy really haven't shown up. McCoy did decently last week, but terrible the first week. Justin Forsett has really just not done anything for you. He hasn't even broken the 10-point mark. And you put a lot of stock into those guys, and hopefully they pull out for you. And then another positive and negative is James Winston. First week didn't really do much for you. Second week, he actually had a good week. So what kind of James Winston are you going to get? Can you get that consistently 18 to 20 points, or are you going to be getting consistently 8 to 12 points? You do have some players on the bench that could be substituted for him, but as of right now, you got to ride his wagon, and I think your victories go off of his play. Your receiving core is spectacular, the best in the league probably. Julio Jones is looking to be the number 2 wide receiver in the league, hands down, and even has a chance of passing Antonio Brown, but Antonio Brown's just playing out of his mind. And then your big one, Odell Beckham Jr. finally shows up. He's back. After that first slump week you lost, the second week he comes out, just big plays after big plays with Eli Manning, and that's what you wanted with him. So I think both those guys are going to produce a lot of points for you, and they're going to keep you competing all season around this 4 to 6 range. It really just depends on James Winston if he can break into the really next echelon. What was I going to say next? That's about it for Dropper Street. Let's go hop to number 5. Explosive Cliteria. Justin, you have moved up 4 spots from the preseason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 to 5. Woo, big jump. Starting off 2-0, coming out swinging with the 2 big victories against me, and I can't remember the second place winner, but 2 big victories. I had to put you up on the board, Justin. I'm not going to deny it. Now, we'll say that you've only put up 237 points, which is the 3rd least. Not the greatest, so I don't know how your team's going to react later on the season. But as of right now, Justin, you're going to hit that 4. You have the Jimmy Graham has kind of busted for you. Hopefully, he can turn that around and keep going. And also, your terrible wide receiving core, Demaryius Thomas. Where has he been? We're just waiting for him to explode. So if those guys can turn around, you can make a move. But the positives of your team are Gronkowski, 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 and Gronkowski. The boy is going off. 4 touchdowns and almost 200 yards in the first 2 weeks. 4 touchdowns. The guy just gets every end zone touch pretty much on the New England's face of the earth. And I think he's going to literally ride you all year. If he can do that, you are going to get into the playoffs because your rest of your team has potential to be pretty decent. I think both your quarterbacks are better than expected, in my opinion. They both have been doing somewhat decent. Nothing crazy again, but just good enough to get you by. And Chris Ivory, he did not have the greatest second week, but I do see flashes of greatness in him, and a lot of people are up on him. And he's one of the only 5-6 systems that he is the single running back that gets 80 to 90% of the carries. And just having that alone will get you points from him. And I think he's really going to be the steal of the draft. Josh was talking about it earlier, being the steal of the draft, and I agree. If Chris Ivory can produce, he's the steal of the draft, Justin. And all the underestimated I did from you will bring you up into this top echelon. I've been saying echelon a lot. You guys can read me for that one. All right. After that, we are going to hop to myself. Tit on the nip. Tit on the nip. You guys can hate me for it, putting myself up there, but I'm 1-1. Had a not so well first week. Had a great second week. But I'm going to keep myself exactly where I was in the power rankings, right here at 4. My negatives are, Morris. Alfred Morris, I made a trade for him, getting rid of T.Y. Hilton. Really had a high value in him, but after last week, he lost carries to Thomas. Don't really know who, or Jones, or his backup. I don't even know his name, and he went off. So that's a big glaring hole in my team, is that Morris pick. Is he going to keep sharing carries and losing his points, or is he going to get all the carries like he used to and get a solid 10 to 12 points a week? Also, I have a big problem with my number 2 QB. That's probably my biggest glaring hole in my whole team. Bradford is really not producing, and I have Carr on the bench. I'm putting him in this week. Hopefully he can produce. Eli Manning showed back up last week, and I think he's going to do fine. I'm not really worried about that first position, but the second position I feel like is a huge glaring hole in my team. But then the positives of my team are, Brown has just been doing great, as you all know. Julian Edelman, I think, has been a great pickup. They're both just getting touchdowns, yards, and catches. They're very, very consistent players. And then, AP had a bounce back week, and Eli had a bounce back week. So my players that I thought they were going to do good, they're starting to mold into the players I wanted them to. And I think just on Brown and AP alone, if Eli can just produce enough, I think I can stay up in this top echelon area and the top playoff bracket. This one right here, boys and girls, is my biggest jump of the week. Whoa, outloaded computers. Man, jumping up 7 from 10 to 3. Woo! You say why? I don't know why. I just like this team. And I'll give you the reasons why. I do think Alshon Jeffries and Frank Gore are going to be inconsistent, and I think Frank Gore needs to be dropped. He works in a system with Andrew Luck that has never had a 100-yard rusher, and he's old, washed up, and you need to get him off your starting lineup. But other than those two, I don't see too much, You have somewhat weak flex positions, but you have 2 great quarterbacks, and Carson Palmer has been carrying you. 500 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Carson Palmer, Mr. 1995 Carson Palmer, in Madden 2001, 99 Carson Palmer. How old is that man? And he's still playing great. He's probably playing the best ball of his career. If he stays healthy, he will ride you hard in a good way. Also, Landry, he's looking to be a very consistent threat that most of us thought. He's going to be getting you your 12 to 15, which is always going to be great. And Jamal Charles and Travis Kelce, both people kind of looked at you weird when you took 2 Chiefs players, but so far it's paid off. In a weak tight end league right now, besides Gronk, it really is Kelce and Kelce alone up in the top, and you have him. And then you have Jamal Charles, which has been just putting up good numbers, and it looks like he's even going to be passing up in the next area because I feel like the past 2 weeks he had a setback with 2 fumbles, and he still got you 15 points. So, even if he didn't have those 2 fumbles, you'd be looking at a 19-point week, which would have been even a greater week. So, Roman, even though you're 1-1, I know, it's crazy, 1-1. I still think his team is very hot, and I do like his team, and that's why I put him up here. He put up 263 points, the 3rd most in the league, and it was 1-1. So, you know what? If you guys can hate on it, Roman, I hope you like it. I'm going to keep you at number 3. The next 2 positions, I think all of us will probably know these ones, and even the order they go in. Because these 2 up top are by far the best 2 teams in the league. Not even close. Not even close. These next 2 are going to be in the playoffs, mark my words. And that first one is Denny. Denny's biggest problem right now is his loss of a few receivers. His receiving core is probably the worst in the league. Even with the trade to get T.Y. Hilton, really didn't do much for him, especially since T.Y.'s been hurt. But other than that, Denny, your team is stacked top to bottom. Your QBs are good. Your running backs are good. Your flex positions are good. Everything else besides your receiving core is a very, very consistent. You put up 272 points, the second most in the league by 1 point, and you start off 2-0. So, Denny, I respect your game. You might need to make some moves with your receiving core to go up to number 1, but as of right now, you're going to stay at number 2, and I don't think there's any way possible that you get knocked out of the playoff hunt. But it is fantasy. You never know. The last one, as you all know, Kapow, the bank. Did not move him from top. Power rank preseason, loved him, and now I even love him. Maybe a little bit less more, but I still love him. You know, Roddy White, I didn't really have a lot of stock in him, but he's busting hard. And the biggest flaw of your team is DeMarco Murray. I think he got 4 yards last week. A guy that is supposed to be a top 5, even if you would consider a top 10 running back, got you 4 points. He can't do that to you, or you will lose some games. But other than that, Tim, Brady and Rodgers. That's all I got to say. I could take this book, shred it apart. Brady and Rodgers are going to win you a Super Bowl this week. You got Brady in the 5th round. Kind of stole him. 4-week suspension just got thrown out the window. And not only that, he's coming out and he's looking healthy. He looks like Tom Brady of 50 touchdowns Tom Brady season. And guess what? You have a guy sitting right next to him named Rodgers, and he looks just as good. So there's no doubt in my mind that you're making the playoffs just by those 2 players alone. You're going to be getting 50 points or not, if not more, every week from them. And then you say, man, well, that's all he has. That's really taking place. Oh, no. Calvin Johnson, Emmanuel Sanders, Terrence Williams. Oh, let's put a little bit of Stanky in that freaking flex position, Tim. You got a stacked team. If Murray plays the way he's supposed to play, you literally will win this league without even blinking an eye. Denny is your only competitor, in my opinion. But this is fantasy, ladies and gents. You never know. And it seems like this year with injuries, shit could just hit the fan whenever you want it. So this is my power rankings. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them. Now we're going to do quick matchups for week 3, and then we'll go on with our day. The first game we're going to talk about is Still on the Nip versus Denny Two Shoes. I got to give it to Denny. I just was talking about how good his team is over, so I feel like I'm going to be losing to Denny this week. Should be kind of tight. As of right now, Yahoo has me projected to win, but I don't see that happening. After that, you got Bank, number 1, versus T.Y. Yeats. I'm just going to let you guys guess who's going to win that one, and it's probably the one I guessed too. So then after that, we go to Llama Drama versus GG Well Played. Pretty close game in my opinion, but I got to give it to GG. I don't think Llama can pull it out. He's going to need a huge 30-plus game from Luck to even consider looking at any of these other players and their teams. And maybe C.J. Anderson can get more than 20 yards a game. After that, we got Apex Predator. Apex versus Learning Computers. I'm going to give my win to Learning Computers. Just a far superior team. Not as much injury-ridden as Apex. And then the last game of the week, Clitoria versus Gotham. And I give it to Gotham in the upset. Upset of the week. Write it down. Gotham's going to pull it out. His team's going to get a little more sharp, and he's going to take over Clitoria, which I do have as number 5, but I'm still not too high on him at the end of the year. Overall, there you guys go. Power rankings, matchups. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let me give you guys a little Justin Bieber as I make my way out. Where are you now? See you guys.